4:33 a.m. We got 6 miles to run and I got a lot on my mind. So let's get to work.
Begin workout.
Hey, Pretentious Engineer here. I know you didn't ask, but welcome to your weekly one-on-one, where I tackle some of the internet's most challenging questions. Now we're, I don't know, 0.6 miles into this little jog, and I wanted to provide you some context on where we're going today as I navigate my next. Now, my family relocated 12 times over the course of 1 year in order to get to Japan, and we just completed our 13th move in order to stay in Japan. And I want to provide you kind of some context as to why. That'll be shared at mile 1. And then there's 4 different ventures that I'm kind of pursuing in parallel, which sounds a little crazy, but people are asking me, like, what are you going to do now that you're leaving J&J after a decade advancing surgical robotics? So mile 2, I will share the community I'm trying to build for engineers, global leaders, as well as entrepreneurs, predominantly in the Japanese startup space. And then mile 3, I want to share my vision for helping people be able to tell their best story and share the essence of who they are. So that'll be more like personal executive coaching or high ticket support for those individuals. Mile 4, what am I at? Mile 4, I want to share how the Family Frenzy brand is progressing into brand management, and my first awesome client I have in that space, who you're gonna want to hear a lot more about. She's incredible. And then mile 5, I'm going to be a CEO and founder of a company in Japan, and there's a whole bunch of context as to that. So if you want to hear the business I'm starting and why I'm excited about it and the value I think that it's gonna bring to fathers, that'll be pretty cool. And then the 6th mile will just be like simple call to action. So if there's any ways for you to engage across those 4 things, I'll provide a pathway for that. So let me pop you back in my head and I'll see you at mile 1. Hey friends, 1 mile down. So let's share some context as to my strategic exit from J&J and my choice to keep my family in Japan. So that's where we'll start. I'm not used to talking and running. It's been a while. But anyway, friends, for those of you who don't know or you're new here, my name is Joe Sasaki, and I've worked as a MedTech entrepreneur within Johnson & Johnson for about 10 years, just over a decade, advancing surgical robotics as a design engineer, robotics controls engineer, and a systems engineer. And then I had this amazing opportunity to direct front-end innovation from Japan. So our family navigated a whole slew of relocations, which I won't cover in this video. Maybe I'll do that in a different video, or there's a TED talk I gave recently that had all that. But basically, I was impacted by a lot of shifts in organizational dynamics, where innovation from Japan became deprioritized from a US R&D perspective, just based on various scarcities that they're navigating. And our rotation in Japan was cut shorter than expected. And as leadership changes and prioritization changes, often the journey of employees to get to a certain location and the journey of their family to do so can be forgotten. And we had just had our fourth child, Akio, in Japan, and we were being asked or told, your assignment ends, find another job. And for us, it was important to stay in the region for stability. I applied to about 20 something jobs in Japan and APAC, but again, because of scarcity, there's no like expat packages that would cover housing or schooling or anything like that, right? And at the last minute, they changed kind of the return path offer from the city we were originally working from, where we had a support network, to New Jersey. And there's nothing wrong with New Jersey. I'm sure it's a great state for many people, but it was 14 hours from both of our families. And right now we live 14 hours from family by flight. So ultimately, based on the needs of our kids to have security and connection, for our ability to have continuity of friendship, and to prevent kind of this boomerang effect where we would go back to the US and then look for a role to get us back in Japan, I made a strategic exit, which I called a contingent resignation. I had made it through 5 interviews for a role in business development based in Japan. I was really excited about the opportunity, and the team decided to move forward with somebody else. And based on lead times on when I needed to start my US relocation, I had to put in a contingent resignation that if I didn't get that job, I would exit and figure out the rest of it. Figure out how to cover housing in Tokyo, figure out how to cover international schooling for kids, figure out health insurance, all these other pieces. And transferring to another job with a full package is very challenging because many companies are moving away from those expat packages, just based on like the advances of remote work. It's harder to find international role opportunities. You'd think it'd be easier as the world becomes more globalized, but from a cost perspective, it's not. So I put in that resignation, I didn't get the job, and here we are today. And at mile 2, I'll tell you about what my next looks like, which has 4 parts because I like to dabble. All right, back on my headphones. All right, mile 2. Let's talk about my first venture out of 4, one-on-one with the Pretentious Engineer. Now, my product, my life is a product of one-on-ones. Johnson & Johnson had a great collaborative culture on most days, and I've probably had hundreds, if not thousands, of one-on-one meetings with engineers, entrepreneurs, global leaders that have shaped and molded me and helped me find my way through my career. And one of my best friends, Jordan, We worked together for, gosh, what was it, maybe 4 years, maybe longer. And anytime one of us had a bad day, we would just walk by the other person's desk and go out to Chipotle. We'd sit down, process life, find our way, get back to work. He'd have a sad day, I'd help him. I'd have a sad day, he helped me. Jordan went through a season called his sad times over the course of a couple months. We had a lot of Chipotle and we figured it out.
What is something you found out late in life that you should have known earlier but you just didn't?
So you could take waffle fries from Chick-fil-A and you can go to Chipotle and dip them in the queso and the guac. That's my friend joke.
So, hey, Pretentious Engineer here. I know you didn't ask. Just want to let you know my friend Jordan did live. This was filmed about 3 years ago.
But those conversations, those one-on-ones, equip us to go back in and face the challenges we're encountering and find a path forward. Because the path is never clearly laid out for us as engineers, global leaders, entrepreneurs. And what I'm interested in doing is starting something called One-on-One with a Pretentious Engineer. I've already been blogging about it. Eventually I want to move into book publication. But what I'm starting right now, the current vision, is creating a community for engineers, entrepreneurs, global leaders to find their way. And I'll be providing lots of classes and content and engagement in this community. And if it's something that will help you shave a couple years off your career by learning from my sad times and the sad times and good times of others, then that's what it's going to be. Now, this is going to be hosted on an amazing platform that I've come to respect and appreciate called Skool, S-K-O-O-L. Eventually, there'll be a link in the description to the actual class, but it's going to take me a month or two to build it and get it off the ground. And I am personally connecting with people to sell it as well, just to make sure that I can develop the right features and content to provide the most value to you as possible. So what you can't do right now is there will be a link for a wait list below, and it'd be so helpful for me to see if there are people watching this content that actually would want to be part of a community like that, and what features, what lessons they want. Also, I want to figure out price sensitivity. My goal, there's this thing called teeter-totter of value, where if it's incredibly cheap, all the value goes to the consumer, and it's not economically viable for me to put time into it to make it as great as it could be. So I'm trying to figure out the price sensitivity of different people, whether they're college students, early career, mid-career, advanced career, so I can make access to it as equitable as possible and as valuable as possible. But anyway, excited to talk about the second venture on mile 3. Get back on my head. All right, friends, mile 3. Now, for those of you who don't know, like, I'm about 6'3", 300 pounds, and I will say, waking up at 4 in the morning, getting out here to run, it doesn't come easy to me, but it's a rhythm of life, a discipline that I continue to progress. And I live stream a lot of these runs as well, just because it's an encouragement to me to continue, because that accountability, but also motivates folks to go out there and be their best. And in the same way, I think communication, storytelling, is another discipline that doesn't come easy to most. And I will share, it has not come easy to me, but I think what's just differentiated me in my career at Johnson & Johnson is just my ability to cast vision, share that in a wide array of platforms, whether it's on a stage, in video form, in person, and captivate people to join and partner with me in that future state vision. So what I'm also interested in doing, and this is your mile 3 update if I haven't said that, is doing more personalized one-on-one coaching as a high-ticket offer to help innovators tell their story. A lot of times folks coming from, say, an engineering background or a finance background, we're not taught how to communicate, how to influence, how to persuade people to partner with us, and then we get surprised why our projects die, why we don't get promoted or advanced, why we get stuck. So what I'm looking to do, this hill is kicking my butt. What I'm looking to do is have 3 to 4 one-on-ones with folks to help together uncover what is the essence of who they are, what they believe, the future state of the world they're trying to create, the barriers and roadblocks, and again, how to find a path forward in that, but then how to communicate it. So it'll end with me helping them upgrade their work remote office from like a audio visual perspective, from a hardware, a software, and a process perspective. And then we'll record one life-changing podcast for them. And while it'll be life-changing for me to be able to record these, share it on my platform, it's like 40,000 plus folks, or even farther if it does well, it'll provide them a singular link to share with any potential person who wants to partner with them in their mission as an entrepreneur, or someone who would want to hire them as a global leader or an engineer, that helps them stand above a sea of resumes to secure their next opportunity. And it provides them with small clips of the discussion to share more frequently, as well as the big call. So that'll be more of a high ticket offer, but to be able to give people a true one-on-one experience, I want to maximize the value they get from it. So that's venture number 2. See you on mile 4 for venture number 3. Mile 4. Now, we're definitely past the fun point of this run. Not that I would ever consider running fun. It's fun when it's done and over, and it's the t-shirt, but venture number 3. Let me breathe. Whew. All right. By the way, that's Kawasaki. It's in Kanagawa Prefecture, which is a different state. Tokyo's that way. So I live in Tokyo, but I love running across the river to another state line. It's super cool. Whew. Okay, so venture number 3. For the last 4 years, in addition to being a MedTech entrepreneur at J&J, I've been a content creator and influencer. I've built a community of around 40,000 folks under the brand of a family frenzy. Let's walk and talk for a minute. We'll get our cardio. Whew. I'll have to jump back in though, which sucks. But we built a brand under a family frenzy where we welcome folks into the frenzy of our world as we learn how to raise 4 kids in Japan. And this has kind of been my umbrella brand for content in these spaces. It's half wholesome, it's accessible, and under it we have the Pretentious Engineer with all my snarky duets, and now one-on-one with the Pretentious Engineer where he's actually a little bit helpful. And then we have Dad Bod, which this run is an extension of, where I built a 16-week free half marathon training program for folks who are trying to make running accessible. So it assumes that, almost slipped. It assumes you're a heavier set, have pre-existing health conditions or injuries. And for the first 4 weeks, we just train core and stability so that you can walk a 5K and eventually train you up to run a half marathon. Now, I've had years of physical therapy, multiple spinal injuries. I was getting epidurals every other week for a season of life. And I was able to find the right physical therapy and fitness routine and regimen to get my back in order without getting surgery. So that was kind of the motivation for Dad Bod. And then we have general Japan life content, which is also really exciting. So I filmed a whole bunch of VR walks across 22 different cities of Japan. I haven't edited and put them all out yet, but that's coming. Anyway, a family frenzy had an overarching brand, bringing people proximal to my life and my story and our journey here to Japan. And for this third venture that I've been exploring is, how do I find my best practices navigating a full-time day job, at the time grad school, 3 kids and a global assignment, and still make content and still provide a space for people to connect around a brand or an identity, whether it's a personal brand or within Johnson & Johnson, different corporate brands of technologies that I've pitched and advocated for. And that leads to the conception of a family-friendly social, which is looking to connect the dots of your digital society. Because I believe whether you have a personal brand or a business, we live in a world of these micro niches and micro digital societies. And how do you actually connect people around the essence of who you are, or the essence of who your business is, and then call them to action in a way where they can provide value to you for providing value to them. So I'm really excited to announce the first official partner of a family-friendly social. It's Erica, the Pancake Princess. She is an incredible, methodical, calculative baker. She's world-renowned at this point. She's got multiple accolades from like real magazines and publications. And she was ranked, I believe, the top food blogger for like 2022, 21, I forgot. Like me, in a sense, she was impacted by a layoff. I was impacted by that contingent resignation, and that helped her take the jump to full-time content creation. But overall, she's been doing these bake-offs for 10 years. She's done 100 bake-offs where she searches through the sea of recipes, finds the 9 that seem most promising from an ingredient and a methodology perspective. She bakes all 10 in the same day, which is wild to me. She has a crew of like 40 plus people that'll rate all the recipes. And then she also provides her own rating. And at the end of that, that gives you a confidence of which recipe to try for yourself. But also, she can provide the ultimate recipe, which would be an homologation of everything she learned from all 9 recipes. Very excited to partner with her. She's got hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So she's a league above me in that capacity. And her blog is like super SEO, super optimized. She's averaging like 250,000 page views per month, which is amazing. So I'm partnering with her brand to help unlock her YouTube channel. So if you're looking to support me and connect with an awesome creator, please follow the Pancake Princess on YouTube, hit the notification, because in the coming months, I will be doing the majority of her video edits. She does do some of her own short form. Eventually you'll figure out which short form feels a little bit more like mine. That's my mark. And then I'll be doing her long form edits as well. But we're hoping to maximize the value you experience from her content, because baking's really cool. So you should learn a little bit about it. All right, so that's venture 3. I have to run again. We got 2 more miles. This is like the hell point of any run, so let's get to work. Actually, I'm gonna turn you off for a second and change the battery. I promise I won't cheat that much, but I want my battery to overheat and swell. These GoPro batteries, they get so hot and then they stick in the GoPro and they break it. It's a huge design flaw. Someone should figure that out. All right, friends, we got full juice for the last 2 miles. The GoPro does. I do not. Let's get to work. Number 4, the craziest of all crazy, the one that I have the most fear and anxiety and general concern for, becoming a CEO and a founder of a Japanese startup, hopefully based in Shibuya. So I'm going to provide some context on how I even decided to do a startup, why I'm doing it, who I'm going to serve, and how I'm going to do it. Is that all the questions you learn in like 2nd grade? Who, what, where, why, when? Anyway, the first 3 ventures are something deeply integrated with my ikigai, my reason, my purpose for being. They build off of everything I've learned both as a MedTech entrepreneur and as a digital influencer, but they don't provide at this exact moment any legal ground for me to continue to stay based in Japan. As I left Johnson & Johnson, based on circumstance, it basically, J&J has to send a letter to the immigration office that says, hey, this employee has left while their visa is set to expire in X amount of months. They are no longer working for me. And what this does is it starts a timer. You got 3 months to secure alternative employment connected with visa sponsorship. And as I shared earlier, I'm gonna walk again. Oh my gosh, mile 5. Brutal, friends. I'm gonna go this way for a minute, my right arm's sore. But as we started exploring the job market in Japan, there are various director, VP level roles that I qualify for, that I have the skill set for, that could have a package. But it's a little bit of a needle in a haystack. And my wife also wants to re-enter the workforce substitute teaching at our kids' local school, eventually becoming full-time. And we just had a newborn. So I need something that has time flexibility across time zones so I could stay home with my son. And prior to my exit from J&J, I attended something amazing called Sushi Tech. It was like literally, provincially, like just a few days or weeks before my assignment ended. And it was one of the largest conventions for startups in Asia, based in Tokyo. And I was going there to see if I could provide support in a consulting fashion, help co-founders and founders triangulate user unmet need, technical feasibility, as well as commercial viability, because I've worked across all 3 of those points of the innovation trifecta, which is a term I'm trying to coin over time. Maybe I'll write a book on it. Anyway, I connected with some folks at a booth called Shibuya Startup. And in Japan, super winded. In Japan, if you want to move here as a foreigner and start your own business, you got to put up around 50,000 or 50 million yen, which is like $50,000. Although with inflation, it's like 33,000. Regardless, based on cost of living with 4 kids in Tokyo, on my prior role, we were borderline paycheck to paycheck. So we actually took a lot of financial risk to stay. We pulled a large loan to cover schooling for our kids, international schooling for the first year of tuition as well as housing, with the hope of potential future upside of all the things I've shared in this 4th one. So long story short, we didn't have 30K to just start a business. But there's an amazing, one second, I try not to talk when I cross people. But there's an amazing process in Shibuya where the government is trying to incentivize people as foreigners to come to Japan and create an ecosystem for founders to connect, get their business set up, the banking, get the capital, and they give you like a 1-year visa without the need to have all of the business visa expenses sorted. You still need to be able to provide for yourself financially and show that you have some form of savings. Anyway, I formally applied to that program, and I'm founding a startup. I'm still finding the entrepreneurial language. I'm founding a startup called Papa. Papa is really aesthetic in Japanese. It's like a little bridge with a circle above it, so you could stack them on top of each other. And if you play around with Papa a little bit in Japanese, you could build it into a house. So the whole vision of this startup is to bring fathers home again. One of the things I found myself optimizing for over the last 3 years of Japan is how do I maximize my value in the workplace as an engineer, but also as a father. One more second. But also as a father. How do I drop my kids off at school and pick them up and cook them meals and play with them and carve out time and start to make work fit more around family instead of family fit around work? And one of the things I've learned is just how to eliminate distraction. there's so much. There's this special moment I think every dad has at some point where they come home from work, they sit down their bags, and like their kids run out to them and jump into their arms, and they pick them up and they make them fly. It's a really wonderful moment. I used to hide, and we had like a garbage room next to the garage, and when my dad was like, when I heard the garage door open, I'd go hide in that room. There's also like a litter box in there, so it just smelled like cat crap. It's terrible. But then like he'd come in, I'd jump out, he'd act all surprised, even though I did it like every day for quite a long season of life. And there's something really fulfilling in that moment where it pulls you out of the work and into being present. But based on so many different aspects of digital distraction, as well as how much time employers are pulling from their employees, people are traveling farther, they're working longer. A lot of people have side hustles just based on rising inflation and financial scarcity, raising house prices, all that kind of stuff. Like, it pulls dads from home in order to provide. And then because they're so burnt out from that, they then go to all the digital hooks of Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, endless scroll, mind-numbing videos that don't end on Netflix. And they lack a lot of the tools to actually be productive so that they can work less in the office and unplug from all that crap and be in the moment with their children. So Papa is focused on bringing fathers home again, recreating that moment of having your kids run to you, running to them, and connecting by building a digital ecosystem that optimizes a father's performance for being home and present and helps them become the father they aspire to be. I also think just living in the US and living in Japan, there's a different contextualization of fatherhood between these two different contexts. There's different models of what an ideal father should and should not be based on the way we're socialized, where we're from, social economic circles, race, ethnicity, faith, context. All these things inform the kind of father we think we should be, and then the standard we set for ourselves and where we fall short. And I haven't found any digital tools that can have such a wide user base that they could start to figure out by asking questions, what is that model of ideal fatherhood to an individual within a socialized context? Where is their gap? So identifying the gap between their desired state and between their current state and their desired state. And then how do you give them a tangible pathway to get to their desired state? Or even challenges your desired state really what you should be ascribing to, or what's normative fatherhood look like within your context? Where do your peers rate on these traits of patience, presence, vulnerability, creative play, sports? There's all these different things you can do to connect with your children. Educational enrichment if you care about STEM. Like, all these different factors, people become a little skewed. And some of them don't know how to personalize their approach to fatherhood to the needs of their children, but also to the needs of themselves. A lot of us feel this pressure that we're never enough as a father, just like we feel the pressure that we're never enough in the workplace. At least I do. I have imposter syndrome, or I'm never enough in our digital context for our community. Never enough is like very common for some people, not all people. But for those individuals, how would you help them overcome that? Like, that's a question I'm really excited to kind of crack through and break. And I want to break it through technology. I have a lot of experience with VR, AR, and digital communities, social media, engineering. So I think it's really the best time and the worst time of my life to found a business. It's incredibly high risk, but if my application goes through a Shibuya, it buys me a year. And it gives me a year to connect across Japan's startup ecosystem, find talented, passionate individuals that care about fatherhood the way that I do, as I've been raising 4 kids out here, and hopefully develop solutions that bless a wide range of fathers. So anyway, that's the long pitch. By the way, this is one of my favorite rivers. It's called Todoroki Ravine, if you ever want to run with me along it. Just pop over to Japan. I'm sure it's a short flight away. All right, we got a little run up these stairs, and then I'll share the call to action. Mile 6, let's go. All right, friends, like any good motivated person, I'm always happy to stop shy of my actual result. So right now it's 5.95 miles, but it's close enough to 6, and this is a more aesthetic part to finish mile 6. Call to action. So I got 4 easy steps for you as I change my phone and my hands and all that. Give you a little bit of under chin. It's terrible. Anyway, 4 easy steps for you if you feel like engaging any of the things I shared. And I don't expect you to engage all 4, unless for some reason you're incredibly awesome. So, first of which, I'm going to stop for a minute so I don't talk by people. First of which is for the one-on-one with the Pretentious Engineer digital community and classes and all that. I haven't built it. I'm working on it. It's going to take time, probably order of weeks to months, depending on focus and how quickly this wait list fills up. And that's kind of the first part, is I'm starting a wait list. There'll be a link in the description. It's going to ask a couple questions as well. Like I'm going to share some of the value prop with you, areas where I think I have deep competency. And then what I want to know is, out of those areas, which ones are most important to you, because I'll prioritize classes and community engagement kind of stuff around that. And again, we're targeting engineers, global leaders, and what's the other one? Entrepreneurs. So if you or anyone you know would benefit from that, please share this video. Please share the waitlist
Total
link.
distance 6 miles.
6 miles.
Total time 1 hour 26 minutes
Woo.
and 5 seconds.
That was a long time.
Split pace 17 minutes 42 seconds per mile.
That last one's a little slow. We walked a bit. Okay, so that's the first one. Do the link for the waitlist and share this video and tell your friends, hey, come along, because I know there's someone you know who benefit from being part of that community. And if you bring a friend, you're more likely to stay and benefit from it and talk about it together, right? I had my friend Jordan. We went to Chipotle. Find that friend, bring them to the waitlist, and then eventually I'll get you into the platform. Oh, I'm hot and out of breath. Okay, call to action number 2. Concerning being able to help people tell their story. I'm going to make an assessment, like, are you ready to tell your story? Like a storytelling readiness assessment. There'll be a link in this video for that. And that way you can kind of figure out where's your gap across communicating the essence of what you want to do, the challenges you're facing, and your desired future state or vision you're bringing people into, and your ability to captivate people into that vision. And then we can figure out, like, if that one-on-one service would be of value to you and how much value. So that'll be the second thing. Third call to action concerning a Family Frenzy social and the Pancake Princess. I'm not looking for more clients. I mean, unless they're incredibly exceptional, because I'm not in a position financially to hire anyone yet. But if you can go and follow the Pancake Princess and engage the heck out of those videos, I mean, as well as mine, it's going to help both of us succeed, because as her community grows and my community grows and we pass people back and forth, we both get better. So that's call to action number 3. And then number 4, for Papa, for the Bringing Fathers Home Again digital ecosystem. The big thing I need in this space is connecting with people within, first of all, the Tokyo or the Japan startup ecosystem. Now, there's a lot of great communities that already exist, like Venture Japan or Venture Cafe Japan, Shibuya Startup. There's Tokyo Innovation Base. There's a couple others. Tokyo Launch, I think, is Launch Tokyo. So I'm going to do some work to connect with individuals there. But if you know anyone in these spaces, or if you're not a global entrepreneur that's interested in that vision and partnering, I have like a startup readiness assessment. It just kind of captures my methodology of the skills and competencies necessary to do a startup. But I've been using that before any one-on-ones, so I can get an idea of where people are, where their pain points are, because I actually want to serve other startups in order to build relationship, solve quick problems in their spaces so that they could partner with me with a long-term vision. So it's really a trust building exercise. So there'll be a link for the startup readiness assessment as well. So lots of assessments, lots of follows, lots of subscribes. Appreciate you, friends. And if for some reason none of that's appealing to you and you just like me as a general person, runner, dad, YouTuber guy thing, then feel free to subscribe, or you can join the channel. And that would also be pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna go be a dad. My wife just woke up, and I'm also now her personal trainer. So I have to go make her work out now that I'm done working out. See you around, friends.